Hey, this is Rob Swanson with the Real Estate Mogul Show. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Rob Swanson back here with another Real Estate Mogul Show. We've got a partial crew here in the studio today, and we're going to be diving in and talking all things tech and real estate investing as we wrap up the last show of the year. Hope you guys are having a very happy holiday season, and hope your year is ending well. Around the corner, we've got a new year coming. So we're going to start talking today about the things and the tools that you can use in your real estate investing business, depending on where you sit today. Are you sitting as a brand new real estate investor, solo operator, just getting in the game? Are you a solo operator closing deals on a regular basis? Or are you all the way over and up here and operating as a large operation with a team out of multiple offices in different cities? We've got the entire gamut. And we're going to be talking about it because there are some similarities and there are some differences between those two types of people. Everybody that is over here on the large operation side, unless they're an employee of that operation, the owners of that probably started as a solo operator and worked their way up. And so we're going to talk tech and real estate today. Would you do us a favor if you like this? Would you subscribe? Would you like this? And would you share it out on social media? Just let other people know that this show is valuable to you, and let us know. We like to hear about it as well. So, hey, with that, guys, let's dive into this today. We got Mike sitting on the couch over here in the studio, and we got Joe on the buttons around the corner. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Joe on the buttons.
That's right. When he first said, hey, it's right around the corner, I thought he was talking about me. He was talking about the new year.
Yeah,
right.
The new year.
You and the new year have something in common.
Right. We're right around the corner.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's going up? You guys are rounding the year out. We're rounding the year out. And when we do this, what I think tends to happen is, Mike, you work with a lot of FreedomSoft users on a daily basis. And you work with people that are just getting in, and you work with some of the avatar that's a real estate investor this week, and they were an MLM person last week, and they're an e-commerce company next week, and they're an internet marketer. So you get a little bit of that kind of opportunity hopper that you kind of connect with.
Yep.
But then you also get the big swatch of most of the users that you talk to that stick around with us for a long time are active investors, closing deals on up to the big funds. And I would assume that this is the time of year that you tend to see or hear about people kind of evaluating their tools. And is that something that's kind of common this time of year? Do you have those conversations with people?
Yeah, I think there's naturally not the word reset, but a regathering potentially. With folks that are new, I think sometimes at the end of a year you say, I know how this year ended up. Next year's got to be different. And real estate comes up, I think, frequently in those conversations. I just hung up with a guy speaking to your point 45 minutes ago, and that's where he sits. And then
he sits where?
Getting started.
So he's getting
in
started.
Real estate. Yep.
Okay.
Wants 2024 to be different than this year was.
In what way? Like he wants his financial life to improve. He wants his work life to improve. Like,
been on the sidelines.
Okay.
Because everybody knows about real estate to some level, and for the most part, when you talk to people, they know somebody or they've heard of somebody that has had success with real estate.
Yep.
Because it's you still hear that stat. Real estate's created more millionaires than anything else. I've heard that. I've heard that for decades.
Yeah.
Right. And so everybody's aware of that comment, and they're aware of the power in real estate. And so for him, back to what I was saying to kind of recap, for him, it's looking for something new in the new year, and he has decided that now's the time. Now, I didn't spend an hour with the guy, right? I was showing him some of the tools in FreedomSoft that are going to help him get there. So I didn't spend any time with this particular individual on his exact why, but it comes up this time of year frequently. for the newer investor looking to get started. It also comes up with the seasoned investor saying, okay, here's what this year looked like. What changes do we need to make? What needs to improve?
Yep.
You know, and they start to evaluate, you know, business model, maybe markets, maybe buy box a little bit. Hey, we had some success over here. Let's do more of this. Let's do less of this. And it, you know, everybody's going through that to some degree. And so, you know, to your point, and to answer your question, kind of a long answer, but absolutely investors do it, whether they're brand new or whether they've been doing this for multiple decades.
And so let's take those two different groups for a second. Take the guy or the gal who's just getting started. That's going to be one person we'll talk about. And then let's take the experienced operator, the experienced investor that's closing deals, who's sort of reevaluating at the end of the year and saying, all right, let's evaluate our tech stack. Let's evaluate the tools we're using. And let's find gaps or opportunities into the next year that are going to take us to the next level. We have those kind of conversations on a regular basis, and there's oftentimes aha moments that spring up within people where it's like, oh yeah, okay, that would help me. This would make a difference. I can see how that will impact our deal flow and our lead flow and our closing, our conversion numbers into the next year. So let's start with the new guy for a second. You just got off the phone 45 minutes ago with a guy who said, I'm going to make 2024 different. I'm going to do something different. And he's evaluating technology and tools to help him do that.
Yep.
Walk me through, what does that conversation look like? What should people be thinking about if they're sitting in that same exact seat?
Yeah, and let me back up one step and say, my experience for the new investor, they want to talk activities, and that's really what they need. What do I need to start doing? And the experienced investor, a lot of times this time of year, they're thinking more systems. And you need both, right? If you just think at the 10,000 foot level, but nobody is building a list or sending out marketing or talking to a seller, you don't have a pipeline, right? And the new investor, the sooner they can think systems and implement systems or use a pre-built system as they start to do proper activities and grow, they won't have to, you know, build themselves into a 70-hour-a-week job that they're probably not looking to do because they're reliant on systems up front. So there's definitely overlap.
Yep.
But when it comes to end of the year, my experience has been newer investors are thinking activities, like what do I do today and tomorrow? Whereas the experienced teams are thinking, okay, here, where were we inefficient in the current year, and how can we improve that into the next? So kind of to back up one step, but
well, I think that's really good that you backed that up, because I think you need to say that and shout it from the rooftops, because people need to hear that all the time. There's the two extremes, right? There's the people that are all in on all tech and they've got full automation, and you know they don't want to do anything, right? And then there's the person on the other side who says, I'm not going to use any tech. I'm just going to go close real estate deals, and like they're going to put their head down. They're going to be like a bull in a china shop, and they're just going to go get it done, right? And there's a balance in the middle, right? The reality is this: if you use technology and you spend all of your time setting up the technology, managing the technology, and trying to get the technology to do what the technology should do, then I would say stop the technology. But what most people need to do is use technology to their advantage and let it help them. And I mean, I'm a perfect guy that can kind of plant my flag and speak to this, because I started before there was technology in this business. Like, I had a flip cell phone, and that's basically all I had. I had notepads. I had yellow lined notepads, or I had a piece of scratch paper, whatever I could grab, you know, the back of a purchase agreement that I might have had sitting on the passenger seat of my car back in the day. And I would write down notes, and I would have, you know, my lead management was chicken scratch notes on different colored pieces of paper all over, in my office, in my pocket, in my wallet, on my desk at the house, you know, all this stuff. And I, as the the business evolved and as real estate investing and the technology available to real estate investing evolved, I leaned into it and I started to utilize it. And I wasn't a first adopter because I was a little old school and I had my way, and I'm like, my way works. But once I said, you know what, I can do better, faster, more efficiently with technology, I leaned all in. And because a lot of times, here's the reality. People want to close a real estate deal, but, a lot of times, why are they getting into real estate to begin with? Money is the answer that people give. They want to make more money, but in reality, most people want something deeper than the money. The money is the tool that buys them something. And, time is an important commodity, right? They're not making any more of it. And so if you can use technology and tools to buy time in your life and in your business, that's oftentimes a really good investment in you. And so me going back, I had started, and I made that switch from notepads to technology.
How ancient does that system that you had feel now?
Oh,
when you look back on it?
My goodness. Yeah. Massively ancient. I mean, here's what people have to realize. And, there's a saying sort of out in the tech world, right? In the users of tech world. And oftentimes it's from various coaches, not just real estate, but in any industry. A coach will tell you, what's the best technology or software or tool for your business, and they'll say the answer is the one you'll use. And so there's a lot of truth to that. And then once you decide to use it, then there is a deeper evaluation to say, is that technology, is that software designed to do what you need it to do? And the needs of the guy just getting started versus the needs of the experienced investor with a team, they're different. And if you can do it in a way where you can begin with a system today that can grow with you as your business grows, that's a good system. And, speaking to that, that's a big piece of why we designed FreedomSoft the way we designed FreedomSoft, right? You can be a brand new investor just getting started, and you can set the system up to serve you. Right. And as your business grows, you add a virtual assistant, you bring your significant other in to work with you, you hire a kid or a nephew or the kid down the street. And then you have team members, employees, and contractors, and then you've got a full baked team. You can grow along that path, and so, I think what I want to do is jump back to my question.
Yep.
What does that conversation look like? Talking to the guy for 45 minutes ago, and where does that start? And then I think we'll just start to layer on the evolution because I was that guy 20 years ago.
Yep.
And maybe 15 or 16 years ago, I was that guy making the move from I've got an operation, but I don't have it systematized. Yeah. How do I systematize it? And how do I go from paper notepads to online technology and tools? And so let me just drop it to you. What does that typical conversation look like?
Here's what I was talking to this gentleman about today and we're talking about tech today. And one of my favorite things about FreedomSoft is, and I told him this, and I tell a lot of people this, he was down in the Tampa, Florida area, all right? And so his initial thought was he's going to go generate some leads in his own backyard. I don't have an issue with that, but that very quickly turned to, I opened up Zip Finder, and he said, I've been driving around and getting familiar with the neighborhoods around here. And as soon as he said that, it was like he teed it up for me, right?
Right.
I said, well, that's a perfect lead in. Let me show you this. Don't guess. Don't drive through a certain zip code or a neighborhood and try and figure out what's going on. Open up Zip Finder in FreedomSoft and let it tell you what's going on. And I said, let's take Hillsborough County, and this is what we did 45 minutes ago. And I opened up Zip Finder. We put in Florida, Hillsborough County, last 6 months, and hit go. And about 9 seconds later, we had every zip code listed from most investor activity in the last 6 months to least. And so what I was able to tell him, because he was in a very, and here's the deal about this guy. I've talked to a lot of people. You can tell the ones who are just going to go take action and get something done and the ones who are tinkering, right? It was evident. What the guy tells me in the first few sentences is that he said, I was referred into FreedomSoft. I just got it set up. My game plan was to just go start knocking on doors. So first off, I know there's a small percentage of people in this country that are willing to go knock on doors. And he said it with some authority, like, okay, this guy's ready to rock and roll. Mm-hmm. So what I did is say, okay, he's about to go full on guerrilla marketing. Let's put some tech and some leveraged effort behind this.
Love it.
And so what we talked about over the next, 35 minutes was, you don't have to drive around and guess where the activity is. Zip Finder is going to show you in 10 seconds. And I showed him.
Right.
And I said, here are your top zip codes. This is where the buyers are buying, right? Because as a wholesaler, and if you don't fully understand wholesaling yet and you're listening to this, that's fine. But in order to get paid as a wholesaler, you have to have a motivated seller and a motivated buyer, right? And so what we do is, and I showed him inside, all of 10 seconds, here's where the activity's going down.
And even beyond a wholesaler, if you've got the capital, or if you're going to go in and not wholesale, but you're going to buy and hold, or you're going to fix and flip, Zip Finder is a fantastic tool because it shows you where other investors are making money. You don't have to be the pioneer and go in and try to create it from scratch. You get to look at the map and say, where's the activity happening, and let's go play there because other investors are already making money.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the idea that you basically tune this guy's mindset up. He was ready to go on one side, and he's like, okay, action is what is going to, massive action gets massive results. So he's ready to take massive action, and then all of a sudden you come over there and just hone in his mindset a little bit to say, hey, it doesn't have to be the same type of massive action anymore. It can be led by technology and become way more efficient and effective.
Yeah, and I think the way I would say it is, it doesn't have to be blind massive action.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very targeted action.
Yep.
And so what was cool is, so ignorance on fire can go make something happen, right? But if you mix fire plus some intelligent activity, in this case, let's focus the action that I want to take into the proper areas
Yep.
to go get paid as a wholesaler. That greatly increases the chance, the likelihood, the percentage, however you want to say it, of getting into the middle of a transaction and being able to find a buyer for it when you get a deal under contract or you have a live one. And so that's where we started. And then here's what was cool about it. Because the other thing we did is I just pulled Hillsborough County, which is where the guy lives, because he told me. And so I pulled this search, and he goes, can I do that anywhere in the country? And I said, you can pull that search anywhere in the country. And then I've used this line a lot because this is true. So Rob, back to tech, the new investor and the experienced investor. And we're all coming to terms with the fact that, the world is global. Yep. We're all coming to terms with that. But investors they're starting to break. I'm starting to see a bit of a shift out of the mindset of I have to do real estate in my own backyard to I can do real estate anywhere in the country. And FreedomSoft certainly exposes that. We've been talking about it for a long, long time, but I'm telling you that I feel like this mindset is an aircraft carrier and they don't flip a U-turn. They turn slowly. And this guy had a light bulb go off and he goes, can I do that anywhere in the country, that same search? And I said, you can pull that same search anywhere in the country. And I said, side note, now that you have access to FreedomSoft, literally, you could wake up and say, I wonder what kind of real estate transactions are going down or what does the activity look like in blank, fill in the city. And you could open up Zip Finder and you could go pull the activity in that city over the last 90 days or 6 months or whatever and see what it looked like. And if you decided to proceed, you could take those top zip codes and go build a list, your targeted list, right? Then you could take that targeted list with a couple more clicks and initiate direct mail. You could do it any time of day. You could do it from anywhere on the planet as long as you had access to the internet. And with a little bit of know-how in FreedomSoft, and honestly, if you've done this stuff twice, you know how.
Right.
You can do it in under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes tops.
Right.
So, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to say that's exactly what you guys taught in the Virtual Market Challenge, and what Rob talks about skimming the easy profits off the top of those markets, and you can get in there and know exactly what's happening. And Henry's talked about it too, about never stepping foot in the market that you're in, and that's doable these days. Really, really doable. So that's exciting to hear those stories.
Well, let me ask you this. So you jumped on the phone, or maybe a Zoom.
We did a Zoom, yep.
And you were logged into FreedomSoft, and you went to Zip Finder, because what you heard him say was he was going to go take massive, imperfect action. He was just going to go start knocking on doors. And he had been driving around to try to get a feel for the neighborhood. So he was going to blindly pick a neighborhood and an area and then just go knock doors. And what you said is, hold on, back the truck up for a second.
Yep.
Let's not, go spend your entire Saturday afternoon randomly going through a neighborhood and hoping that we land on something. Let's back up. Let's use the Zip Finder tool in FreedomSoft to find where investors are already making money. What are the areas? What are the zip codes? What are the, let's narrow it in. And then from there, once you identify the top 3, 5, 10 zip codes, then you can select those zip codes, and you can click the find buyers or find sellers. So to find motivated sellers, you can click the button and then build a list. What happens next? I assume that's where you went with this Zoom meeting.
Yep. I showed him how fast he could build a vacant list. And then he had some intelligent questions. He said, what other lists are available? And so I took the Lead Finder, the advanced search screen on the Lead Finder tool, and just opened up all the different sections and just, kind of went quickly from top to bottom. And this, this was a guy that he had clicked around in FreedomSoft a little bit. He didn't have extensive background with it. I don't know that I looked the exact date he set up his account, but it was within the last 2 weeks. So he had done a little bit of clicking around, which is good. And he had some really intelligent questions. What other lists can I build? And I said, we make the big 4. We just put them right in front of you. Here they are. And then you can, drill down further on that. And so
meaning you say we make the big 4.
Yeah.
There are 4 seller lists that target absentee owners. There are 2 pre-built motivated seller lists that target owner occupants. And so there are 6 pre-built lists in Lead Finder, and then you can go advanced search, and you can customize anything you want.
Yep.
Got it.
So I built the vacant list quick.
Yep.
So we went to Hillsborough County. We identified the top 10 zip codes in 10 seconds. It took me another few seconds to select them. I clicked the blue Find Seller button, and I said, let's see how many vacants, according to the Postal Service, are currently in these top 10 zips. And I hit it, and there were 1,500 and change.
So how many houses that are currently flagged as vacant
Yep.
in Hillsborough County in the top 10 zip codes, in the top 10 zip codes where investors are already currently making money?
Right. We take
And
this
there
for
were
granted.
1,500.
We take this for granted, what we just did in less than 120 seconds. So,
Yeah.
Rob, when you started, not possible.
Not possible.
This was a pipe dream. And I just took a brand new investor and showed him how he can go build a targeted, productive list with a proven track record, a vacant list, in the targeted zip codes, and not the active investor zip codes from 10 years ago, the active investor zip codes from the last 6 months. I don't care where people were making money, 6-10 years ago.
Right.
Where are the deals going down today? Because over time, they might be similar.
Yep.
But that changes a little bit throughout a city.
Yep.
Right? That changes. That moves.
So instead of this guy getting in his car and going out into a neighborhood and driving around and writing down addresses or walking up to doors, knocking on them. What he's now doing is he's sitting in the comfort of his home office or the coffee shop or wherever, and he's going through this process. He's narrowing in because the technology is helping him narrow in. He's got a list built in front of him, a vacant houses list. And I'm going to do just a sidebar. We talked about, there's 6 pre-built lists. And this is in FreedomSoft, just pre-built because they work. One of our other favorites is the tired landlord list. And I'm going to mention this here because the tired landlord list, if you use it and use it right, it will create a pipeline of deals. Like you could build one list in a geography with tired landlords, and you could literally have a deal or 2 close every single month for the rest of the year from that one list. And it's because tired landlords oftentimes own more than one property.
That's right.
And you don't have to buy just one from somebody. You can buy one today and then buy another next month and buy another next month. That tired landlord list is like this little gift that keeps giving if you use it and you set up your follow-up and your drip, and it's just a beautiful thing. And so it gets less love than, say, the vacant house list, because the vacant house list has a layer of motivation, i.e. nobody's living in the house, a layer of motivation that is just inherent with a vacant house list. So a lot of times people will go there first, and what we oftentimes teach is take a step back and go there. That's maybe your low-hanging fruit, but then let's build pipeline, and let's tap into the tired landlord or the distant landlord or the high equity or the vacant or the zombie list, or, you can do other different things. So I just wanted to highlight that out. So this guy now, he's got a list built of 1,500 vacant houses in Hillsborough. What does he do next? Because at this point, he's still sitting at the coffee shop, right? He's not out spending his day or his week driving, crossing his fingers, hoping something happens. He now has 1,500 addresses with owners that own a house that is vacant. What next?
Yep. Next, we went right into direct mail, and we started talking about the direct mail system in FreedomSoft and how. And here's what I showed him. I showed him, first off, the pre-built templates. And then he said, hey, if I ever wanted to modify one of these templates, is that possible? And so back to our conversation, not everybody asked this question. He did. I said, absolutely. You're going to take one of our default templates, right? Create a secondary version of it. You click a button, it creates an exact copy. You can do whatever you want to the copy. And I showed him it's point and click. This is a text box. You can add an image, whatever you want to do. And so he said, so we moved past that. That's fantastic. And then we went right into, and he asked me, and this was interesting because he was thinking, he kind of still had this, driving mindset. He goes, well, what if I want to send direct mail to 10? And so I explained it to him. And I said, if you want to build a targeted list, you can send direct mail to 10. We have no minimums. If you want to send direct mail to 10,000, we have no minimums. It's both and, right? And we had a quick little conversation about typical mail house. I don't believe he had sent direct mail before. Typical mail houses have minimum orders, 250, 500, whatever. And I said, we wanted to do away with that. So let me explain real quick how our system works. And so we talked through a few of those points, but there are times when you want to target a smaller targeted list. There are other times when you want to target, I had a guy ask me a couple months ago, and he had been working real estate for a while, and I showed him the automation in our direct mail system, and he goes, because I specifically remember, he goes, Mike, so if I wanted to import my list of 10,000 that I have built right now, he was coming off another system into FreedomSoft. He said, if I want to import my list of 10,000 and just hit him with a postcard every month, I can set that up one time and let it go. And I said, you absolutely can. So it's both and. There are times where, hey, I found this targeted little list and there's only 75 people on it, but I love this area and I love this, well, whatever filters I ran, bam, you can go target that.
Well,
You want to bring in
the point that you're making
bring in
there,
10,000?
yeah, and the point you're making there is with 75, most mail houses would require you to go get.
They say we need 250 or 500.
Yeah. So you'd have to go find more stuff and spend extra money that in reality you just want to target these 75. Hey friends, Rob Swanson here. Let me jump in and talk to you really quick about the Real Estate Mogul Academy. You might be sitting back listening to this and saying, how do I get in proximity with these guys? How do I have these kind of conversations, water cooler, hallway conversations every single day to help me go where I want to go in my real estate investing business? Whether you're just getting started or you're already a seasoned pro trying to elevate and go to that next step, the Real Estate Mogul Academy might be for you. What we'd like to do is offer you a free strategy session where someone from my team will jump on the phone. We'll talk about where you are, where you want to go, and how the Real Estate Mogul Academy might be the right fit for you. If you're saying to yourself, that sounds great, let's do it, go to mogulmembers.com, fill out your name and your contact information, and let's jump on the phone and let's chat. Let's see if we can help you go where you want to go this year. And and so the way the FreedomSoft Mail Now system is built is it's sequence based. It's not event based, and that's a key technology differentiator.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
Most mail systems, even inside CRMs, because most of the time the CRM is integrated with some print mail house behind the technology, behind the scenes, and so they still have minimum event batched number of postcards or letters that you have to send. There's a minimum order. And, again, we at FreedomSoft with the Mail Now system, we wanted to eliminate that. We wanted you to be able to build a list, or we wanted you to be able to identify one address, one property. And in that moment, we wanted you to be able to send a postcard or send a letter or send an offer with a click to that single address. And that's a game changer for people to
He asked me that exact
take
question.
massive quick action.
Yeah, so watch this. He does a lot of driving with his day job. And one of the questions he said, this is a good question. He said, hey, if I'm driving around and I jot down an address, maybe I notice a vacant house or something like that, can I send direct mail to it? And again, so he just teed up another one for it. It's like I was playing golf with this guy. So I said, absolutely. So Smart Search is available on any screen. And I said, you're going to pop in the address. You just have to start typing it in. Then the address is going to show up. Then I'm going to click on it. And I said, not only can you just send direct mail to it, but we're going to throw up a little estimate of value from FreedomSoft. We're going to throw up the icons because it automatically runs every address through our database. And so if it's vacant, you'll see the little diamond. If it's absentee owner, whatever, we pop the little icons. And then I said, right up here, I was explaining, we call it the property snapshot. So right up here, there's this little orange envelope icon. Click it, tell the system which sequence you want, click send, and it's done. And and I told him it'll trigger the direct mail to go, and it'll simultaneously add it to one of your lists so you don't lose track of it. So
this guy went from, I'm going to change my life with real estate in 2024. I'm in FreedomSoft today. I'm not exactly sure. I know I'm going to take massive imperfect action. I'm not exactly sure where to focus my efforts or how to get that done without just me kind of working hard, working long hours, and doing blind things to a degree, hoping something sticks or hoping something hits, right? 2, a short Zoom call with you, use Zip Finder, identify your target areas, use Lead Finder, build a very specifically targeted, motivated seller list. Select records out of that list or go through the records on that list. Remember, the 1,500 came out of your top 10 zip codes. Well, if you were to just take that list then and just filter it down by your top zip code, maybe you're down to, 100 of them in the top zip code or 200 in the top zip code. Well, you could click address by address in your list, pop up the property snapshot, look at it and say, is that the type of property I'm looking for, right? And what I typically would tell people to do is just select them all and send the mailer, right? But some people want to be a little bit more specific, a little bit more targeted. They want to flush things out. And so if it's almost like driving for dollars through your list, right? Because you can go record by record, click on the first record, open the property snapshot, look at the house, look at the details, and say, yep, I like that one. And you click the orange button, send mail. And then you click next. And you go to the next property and you look at the address, you look at the information, you look at the indication, the motivation icons, and then you click the orange button, send mail. And you can just step through all of your records like that if you want to slow down. And some people like to slow down. They like to get a sense of the area. And now what's happening, he or she, and in our case here, he's now got mail, direct mail, a mailer out the door. Proven templates, proven postcards, proven letters out the door to potentially motivated sellers. And what is he doing? He's waiting for those people to respond. Okay? Now, in the gap of the wait, right, you're going to send direct mail and you're going to wait 3 to 5 days for that mail to hit and leads to start coming back in. In the gap, there are additional things that you can be doing so that you're not twiddling your thumbs, right? There's always outbound activity that you can do. There's always direct there's always direct actions that can be taken while you're passively waiting for your leveraged effort to produce something. So, all right. So we're in this place where now he's either selected all the records and he's sent out mail, 1,500, or he's clicking through them and he's flagging them in the CRM, and he's going to send them out either one at a time or he's sending them out in a smaller bulk later. What happens next? What does he do? He's going to capture and he's going to wait for inbound leads. Because where I want us to go now is, okay, this is what an individual guy does. What do you do if you're an operation? You've got a team of acquisitions people. Because actually, I want to back up. There was one other piece I wanted to really talk about here, and that is the follow-up. Right, the technology just was massively leveraged in speed to sort of launch. Right, speed to lead, and now you're going to start to have two components to this. You've got your prospecting list and you've got your inbound leads list. So your prospecting list is what's in your list. This is a list of records that have not responded to your marketing yet. Maybe you've not done any marketing to them yet. And then you've got those records that respond and create a lead inside of your system. You've got to have follow-up automation in both of those two areas. And people oftentimes talk about follow-up and they talk about automation on the leads side of their business. But what I want you to understand is that if you put automation on the lead generation side of your business, in addition to the lead follow-up, you will have a machine that is constantly generating new opportunity for you. And that's the key to this whole thing. And so we talk about the sequences of the FreedomSoft direct mail system, and that is an automated drip lead generation system. You can just set it and forget it. You can give it a budget. You can pop records from your lists into a sequence, and you can just let it run. And letting it run is going to, on a regular basis now, generate inbound leads. Yep. Those inbound leads, you're going to follow up with. You're going to make offers to. Some of them are going to accept your offers today. Some of them are not going to be ready. So you're going to want to drip your follow-up. And that's where email follow-up, that's where text message follow-up, and that's where even direct mail follow-up happens on the leads side. So you want to use technology for lead generation, automation, and follow-up, and you want to use technology for your leads, your lead follow-up, to bring back those leads and turn them from a not ready seller into a ready seller. And I think that's a key component, because everything that we just talked about is the basic system. That's the basics of real estate investing. Now, the technology behind that, everything in FreedomSoft you can do on an individual record manually. You can do in bulk by selecting a whole bunch of records and doing something manually. And then you can do it via automation. So meaning you can flag records, you can follow up with records, you can add them to lists, you can do direct mail or marketing to them, you can build a cold call campaign, you can do a deal analysis, you can create tasks, you can do all of these things individually, in bulk, or with automation. And the automation is driven off of the workflow and status updates and the actions that can be automatically applied. That's the basic system. So how do we go from, Mike, a guy who is just getting started or a solo operator and that basic system into working with a team? What are the differences if you've got an operation that you're running with multiple acquisitions people, multiple dispositions people, multiple markets? The basic system of real estate investing doesn't change.
Nope.
But the technology has to be able to accommodate the business needs. What does that look like?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is when you're an individual, you do all of it. Who's doing marketing? You. Who's talking to sellers? You. Who's finding buyers? You. Who's coordinating the closing? You, right? What I've most often seen is as a team starts to be built and starts to grow, people fall into different seats. And you have an acquisitions team, you have a transaction coordinator, you have a lot of times people that are just focused on acquisitions. Let's find our next motivated seller and look to put their property under contract, and then they hand the baton over to somebody on the backside, or we call it the disposition side of the business, where they're now managing from contract to closing. All right. And so while the tech is relevant for every seat, different portions of the tech, like if I'm in dispositions working with buyers, I'm not over probably paying attention to Zip Finder and Lead Finder building lists. That's what the acquisition side of the business does. And then they hand me the baton once it's under contract. And so I think the conversation from a team standpoint starts with that understanding.
Yep.
That the individual operator wears every hat. The different people on a team wear their specific hats. It's still the same activities getting done, right? We're building lists, we're sending marketing, we're talking to sellers, we're making offers. That doesn't change.
Yep.
That's real estate investing. But what changes is who starts to do what.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and it depends on the size of the team, right? Sometimes those lines between tasks are a little bit, blurrier, and sometimes they're very clear. Like, Mike, you do acquisitions, you don't touch dispositions. Great. So I've seen it work both ways, and that's Rob, building a team is, one of those challenges as the owner is always, hey, who's doing what, who should be doing what, who's going to handle the different tasks. And maybe it's the word growing pains, but you're trying to figure out, where do these lines need to be drawn? And some, that's a bit of a moving target based on people's skill sets and that kind of thing. But
yeah, well, I think that what we see and what has worked for me in the past, and the best, is permissions are important, right? Yeah. So we're talking about permissions, and we're talking about a growing team having access to various pieces of the software and the technology. And so on most growing teams, you have a lead manager. So you've got the owner operator, or you've got the operator general manager. That person has all access to everything. They have full transparency into seeing the entire technology system. And then you have lead managers. Lead managers typically live on the front end. They're charged with marketing, and they're charged with lead management, organization. Because one of the things that you'll see, and we see this all the time, we bring people from every other CRM out there into FreedomSoft on a regular and consistent basis. And what we see is the proverbial CRM bloat. And, inside most CRMs with active investors, active teams, the bloat that happens and the just sort of unwieldiness that a list or a lead campaign gets is pretty profound. Like, it gets away from people. So lead managers are charged with marketing, list building, and then lead management. So they're charged with staying organized. Then you've got the acquisition sales folks, and they're charged with taking those inbound responses and having sales acquisitions conversations. They're also charged with doing outbound prospecting through their private workspace. And so a lot of times a lead manager in FreedomSoft will build a list. We'll segment that list. We'll grab a handful of those records, say 100 or 200, skip trace them, and then push them into a private workspace for an acquisitions guy or a gal. Then that acquisitions guy or gal grabs those records and queues up a cold calling campaign and starts doing outbound dial prospecting. Now, the cool thing about that is if you've got 3 acquisitions people, each one can live in their own workspace. The lead managers can grab records out of the list, move them into the workspace, queue up a cold call or an outbound dial campaign, and do that times 3. And then the lead manager can watch for that prospecting, that outbound cold call campaign to cycle through, and then they can trigger the follow-up and the automation to those records, either the inbound replies or the prospecting that needs to get a second call or a third follow-up. And so the lead manager is managing the lead or the prospect status, the status of the record, so that the acquisitions person is either working their leads inbox and new inbound opportunities, or they're working their prospecting list out of their workspace. And we're trying to keep it really clean, because what we see is people come into FreedomSoft with confusion. And our process for importing into FreedomSoft and setting up the FreedomSoft system brings natural organization to what they have kind of been living in chaos. And people are like, whoa, I've never really been able to see the clarity of my business like I can see it now. And so people come in, and that's where we've got the lead managers, we've got the acquisitions people. Now, acquisitions people then are making the offers and getting a contract, right? And their job then is to make the offer, get a contract, and mark that record as under contract, which automatically, if you set up the automation, moves it onto your dispositions properties dashboard. And so now 2 people on the back end come into play. You've got lead managers and acquisitions folks on the front end. You've got transaction coordinators and dispositions sales pros on the back end. So your transaction coordinators are the ones that are coordinating with the title company, making sure that everything gets submitted, making sure that we've got clear title and that the schedules are all working. Transaction coordinators are helping make sure nothing's going to jump up on this deal that's going to blow it up at the last minute in the 11th hour. So the transaction coordinator is that organizer, and then your dispositions person is the person that's actually taking and selling that deal. And they've got the relationship with the buyers. They know when that deal hits the dispo dashboard, they look at that address and say, oh, I already know who I'm going to sell this to. Mm-hmm. Or if they don't, They say, I know how I'm going to push this deal out there and get it sold. Well, let's say that you've got 3 dispositions guys or gals and 1 transaction coordinator. So 1 transaction coordinator is going to manage all of your dispositions, but you've got 3 dispo guys or gals who are doing the selling. Permissions come in to play again, and they come into play across this whole thing. So your lead managers, depending on their specialty and depending on what you want them to do, they can be given access to certain areas of the software, certain lists, certain campaigns. You have total control over what you give them or what you don't give them.
Yep.
They don't have to have access to all of the marketing tools. If their job is to manage a certain aspect of it, you can lock down with permissions exactly what you want them to have. So there's sections of the software, and then you can get down to the campaigns, the lists, campaigns, and workspaces in the software. And then you can get all the way down to individual records. On the disposition side, you can go as granular as you got 3 dispositions guys, but you only want, you want to distribute them out to your team. You can either make it a free-for-all, or you can distribute them to your team, and so your dispositions guys or gals only see what you put on their dashboard. And so it's a pretty strong system. If we go back to the guy in the Zoom meeting, Mike, that you had 45 minutes ago, an hour ago, and you look at what you did with that guy, and then you start to look at how do we grow a team. Well, you're going to do the same types of activities that individual guy did, but you're going to do it multiple times, scaled across your team, and different team members are going to step in and do different aspects of those jobs. That's
it.
That's how you grow.
Yeah, and we did a whole show. If people go back, we did a whole 2-part show on permissions and focus and what that actually does, using the technology in the way that you talked about it, and what that does to your team to ensure their focus and their activity is going to be the most effective.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I think it was at least an hour and a half show that we talked about and really broke it down. And so I love that you're bringing that up again, because the technology around FreedomSoft and the way that it's set up is really just leads a person, an operator, to do those things if they're knowledgeable about it.
Yeah, and we're not really even talking about the tech side on the back end, where you can just take that deal off your property's dashboard and push it out to your website, right? We're not even talking about the tools on the back end that actually make it simple on the back end. But what the main thing I wanted people to see is as they're wrapping this year up and they're asking themselves, are the tools we're using, is the technology we have, is it designed in a way that we have organization in our business, we have automation in our business, but yet we have transparency and an understanding of how it all fits together.
Yeah.
And that's the piece that we see people coming from other systems. They either lack the ability to lock down, so they can't control permissions of who has access to what in a granular way, or it's kind of just a garbled mess where, yeah, they might have lead statuses, they might have tags, they might have this, but the way that you see the data is not as transparently clear as it could be. And that makes it more difficult for people. And, even users within FreedomSoft, if, the users that have been with us for years, right? Every once in a while, they've got to go through kind of a cleanup and purging phase, right? Because it's the nature of any technology. You can get a little bit of what we call CRM bloat. And it always takes, and that's why we're having this conversation, because these conversations usually take place at the end of the year. And people say, okay, end of the year, let's get rid of the CRM bloat. Let's get rid of this sort of mess that we have, and let's get control of it. And that spurs people to ask, are we using the right tools? Do we have the right software? Is now the time going into the new year to make the switch that we've been talking about making? Will it impact our business in a meaningful way? And if you're asking any of those questions, I just want you guys to know that my team is here, and we'd be happy to do a demo with you guys and show you how easy it is to switch from whatever you're using today over and onto the FreedomSoft platform. It can be done in about a day. It can be done in a few hours. And what we always tell people to do, there's a little bit of prep work that we have you do ahead of time so that we basically customize FreedomSoft to accept your business. And so when you come off of any other CRM, and we know how all other CRMs sort of export data. So we go in and we customize FreedomSoft to be the receiving end, the receiving side of the hitch. And then we go to the existing CRM and we push that data out. FreedomSoft sucks it in and it's all organized. And so it's a pretty seamless process. And so if you're sitting there saying, I wonder if there's a better, easier, more efficient, more transparent, more organized way to operate my business that gives me greater control as we grow, we'd love to give you guys a demo and show you what we can do for you. And Mike, you spend a lot of time doing exactly that.
Exactly that. Yep. Yeah, it's like you said. There's a little bit of game plan when you're coming off another system. Then there's a little bit of setup. Let's make sure that the FreedomSoft side is ready to receive the data coming in, and then it's a data transfer step, and that's pretty much it. Kind of 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Game plan it, set up the receiving side of FreedomSoft, and then execute. So.
Yep.
Simple steps.
So on the last show of 2023, what I want you to do is take stock in your tech setup and ask yourself, is it serving you? And if there are any questions or any areas where you feel like maybe I could leverage this better, or maybe I could have a little bit easier system here, or we have growth plans into the next year, and you're kind of wondering, how does your technology help you grow? Make sure you get with us, because we can show that to you from thousands of users and my 20-some years of doing this in the business. We know best practices, we know what works, and we can show you and dial it in. And one of the cool things is we find that every investor does business similarly with some slight tweaks and modifications to maybe the way they name their statuses, or the way they want their automations to trigger, or there's slight differences. Some people want generic, no branding. Other people want full branding with their little cute logo. And everybody does something a little bit different, and FreedomSoft is fully customizable to support whichever direction or whatever specific customizations you need. So it's a powerful system, and we want you to end this year well and start the next with a bang. So I think that's a wrap for this one, guys. Last show of the year.
That's right.
Love it.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, go make it happen into the new year and let us know how we can help you. If you would, do us a favor. Like this show and share it on social media. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you around the corner of the next year. Cheers. Hey friends, Rob Swanson here. Let me jump in and talk to you really quick about the Real Estate Mogul Academy. You might be sitting back listening to this and saying, how do I get in proximity with these guys? How do I have these kind of conversations, water cooler, hallway conversations every single day to help me go where I want to go in my real estate investing business? Whether you're just getting started or you're already a seasoned pro trying to elevate and go to that next step, the Real Estate Mogul Academy might be for you. What we'd like to do is offer you a free strategy session where someone from my team will jump on the phone. We'll talk about where you are, where you want to go, and how the Real Estate Mogul Academy might be the right fit for you. If you're saying to yourself, that sounds great, let's do it, go to mogulmembers.com, fill out your name and your contact information, and let's jump on the phone and let's chat. Let's see if we can help you go where you want to go this year.